Last week, I posted a video in which I ranked some queer couples in different TV shows and films based on how well I thought they were executed. But both in that video and also in the comment section, you guys were mentioning it, there was a lot of mentions of non-canon couples and queer ships, if you will. So I did the only natural thing and I decided to make a separate video about them. Today, I want to take a look at some of the most popular queer ships and rank them based on whether I think they should have happened or not. Along the way, we're going to discuss things such as queerbaiting, shipping culture, and also some crazy fan behaviors, whilst trying to find the answer to the question, what makes a good queer ship? So let's get into it. Hello, my name is Freyr, I'm your favorite local forest gremlin and a Polish sociology student, and welcome to my little corner of the internet where I discuss all forms of popular media that interest me, whether that's books, TV shows, films, or music. Today we are rounding up Pride Month 2026 with a video about queer ships. I'm honestly very, very excited for this, although I do also think that this video has massive potential to piss certain people off, and so I am kind of afraid of its reception. But we'll manage. Last week I did something kind of similar, so if you haven't seen that video, go and watch it. It's still up on my channel. I really recommend giving it a watch. It was a fun time. And this video is practically going to work the same. So yeah, spoiler alert for any shows that will be mentioned in this video. I will be introducing chapters into the timeline so you can skip around to avoid spoilers. And also, obviously, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really, really helps me out a lot. You can also like it, you can share it around with your friends, and you can follow me on all of my other social media, which will be listed in the description box below. Also, if this video looks a bit dim, that is because I had to basically board my entire windows because it's so fucking hot outside. I know we are all suffering with the heat. I know specifically friends in the UK have it very, very bad. It's not fun in Poland either. I am not doing well and I might melt during this video. So there's that. I guess, it's the preparation process for when I'm going to be burning in hell for being gay. Okay, whatever. We're going to be operating on 4 tiers today, and the first tier is called homophobic dog. This tier is for all the ships that I just don't get. I don't understand. I don't ship them. I never did. I probably never will. I don't understand their point. Looking at them, I kind of feel like that homophobic dog. Pack it up, Skittle Squad. This is gonna be the least populated tier in this video. There are only I think 2 ships that are gonna land here, and these 2 might piss people off. I am scared. The next tier is called the Tiny Trixie Metal tier. This is for the queer ships that could have happened, could have not. I don't really care that much. I was never that invested in them. They're just kind of there. My investment in them is just like Trixie Mattel in this photo. Tiny.
Don't eat food, you're dead.
But at the same time, if a ship does land here, that doesn't mean I hate it. The penultimate tier is the Pride Radar Woman. This is for the ones that I enjoy, I like. I think there's a lot of positives. Maybe they're not the ones that I'm the craziest about, but it's good, it's fun. Definitely should have happened, definitely should have been canon. And the final tier in this video is carried over from last week's video. It is the Protect Queer Art tier. This is for the creme de la creme of this video. This is for the ones that should have been canon or that basically are canon to me in my head. This is for the best of the best. Now that we have our tiers out of the way, we can start ranking our ships. You guys submitted a lot of them. I picked out 16 that I wanted to talk about. And if your ship didn't make it, I promise that's not because I hate it, although I might. But I am still very, very grateful for all of your submissions. Thank you so much. You really made making this video so much easier. We're starting with a big one because this one definitely should have happened. I'm of course talking about clans in Voltron Legendary Defender. It's been a while since I've last seen Voltron, honestly, but I still remember being very, very obsessed with this ship when I was watching it. It made so much sense to me. Imagine, at first they're kind of rivalry that they have with each other turning into friendship, but then slowly evolving into something more. That would have been a perfect ending. Imagine seeing this sort of obsession that Lance had with Keith, this one-sided rivalry that he kind of imagined, turning into something more, and Lance finally understanding why he cared so much about Keith to begin with. Like, and it being like it should have been canon. Once I finished the show, I also found out that they were actually meant to be canon. There were plans for a Clan's endgame, but that was changed after season 3, and that truly broke my heart. But at least, you know, many of the people who were actually still working on the show continued to introduce these like little, pretty small but still very much noticeable romantic moments between those two. I also really like that Keith and Lance fit into so many tropes. You have the light antagonism, you have the different personalities, even like the color coding of them. It just made so much sense to me since like episode 2 of season 1 maybe. There's a reason why this is one of the most popular non-canon ships of all time. Like, it should have been Endgame. But then it just never materialized. I watched the show in full, desperately waiting for a Clan's ending to suddenly materialize, because all this time I wasn't really like on Twitter or xofreyr or wherever else, so I didn't actually know that Clans was a thing, but I also didn't know that it didn't end the way most people wanted it to. I kind of thought that I just conjured that up in my head, but then finding out later that many people actually agreed with me validated my feelings towards this. We are starting off strong because Clans are landing in the Protect Queer Art tier. Now this next one, okay. I think in last video I had a pretty, I guess, brave and controversial take about Wilmon from Young Royals, the Vila and Simon ship. Although many people actually agreed with me on that one, so maybe it was not that controversial. But here is one of like the controversial takes, of this video. Erik is a bit dicey to judge, especially since there's one more Teen Wolf ship that I actually prefer to Erik. When I first watched Teen Wolf, I mean, I saw the vision for this ship, but there was something that didn't exactly work for me. I think it was mostly the age difference of the characters, because Stiles is a high schooler, whilst Erik is a full-blown adult. That's a grown-ass man, probably in his like 20s or something. You know, Stiles is not an adult for most of the series. I think he is an adult in like season 5, maybe. Like, well, actually, was he? Yeah, he was in season 5. Yeah, so I think he was an adult back then. But still, that kind of made me uncomfortable when it came to enjoying Erik. On the other hand, though, I do understand why this ship happened, because Dylan O'Brien and Tyler Cracklin really have insane chemistry. You have this like foreboding werewolf and this scrawny teenager. Like, I see it, I get it, I respect it. Not to mention the fact that they did use the hype behind Erik to promote this show and also get fans to vote for some sort of like award. I don't remember what it was. I just remember it being very disrespectful. And like, if you're gonna do that, I would expect you to like introduce them into the canon, but they didn't do that, and instead they presented us with a textbook definition of queerbaiting, which, by the way, that is likely going to be a theme for this video, because I think like half of these ships, or maybe even more, are just basically a result of queerbaiting. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. Back to Erik though, I think there was a way to make it happen without it being weird, and the fact that the writers decided to not go that route is kind of disappointing, because they were clearly hinting at it and they clearly knew how the fandom felt. But Erik was personally just never for me. I think it's because of their popularity that I kind of have to be nice about it, but I have my own bias against it, let's just put it. Erik will be our first resident of the Tiny Trixie mentality here. I get it if you ship it. I think, especially if you know your headcanon is that these are, you know, two consenting adults, I think that's fine. But the way the show presented it, I was kind of weirded out by it, not gonna lie. Now this next one though, this one is the real shit when it comes to Teen Wolf. Liam and Theo just work so well together, and also again, perfect enemies to lovers here. Like, they are actual enemies. Theo is an antagonist, but then, you know, they grow closer together, they are forced to fight side by side, and then when season 4 rolls around, which, you know, season 6 is awful, yes, but at least we get moments between those two. Namely, that entire episode, which I forgot what it was called, but that episode in the abandoned zoo, that is basically just a Theom episode. These characters alone are extremely mid. Like they're so boring. Liam is fun at first when we see him like adjusting to the whole werewolf thing, but the longer we go on with him, he becomes a very stale protagonist, in my opinion. The writers also tried to force him into this relationship with Hayden, which just never worked. That was literally just a relationship because the writers said so. Nothing about these characters screamed like, yeah, they're meant for each other. And possibly that's the reason why that relationship is later broken up. I mean, that and possibly, you know, the actress that played Hayden leaving the show, but still. And then Theo is just a very confusing antagonist, although he's probably one of the only characters that are actually featured in season 6 that doesn't get a completely bullshit character arc. One way that their flaws could have been fixed would be bringing them together. That way, Liam would actually seem like more of an interesting character, and we would complete Theo's redemption arc more successfully. They had so much tension between them, but once it was partially resolved, I fully started seeing them as a potential couple. And also, this ship, unlike Erik, is actually pretty age appropriate because I think they were both high schoolers and they were like pretty much the same age, so hey, at least there's that. Teen Wolf post season 4 really, really sucks, and maybe, just maybe, if Liam and Theo actually got together, they would have been the highlight of it. Actually, it wouldn't be hard to be a highlight of those later seasons because they are pretty bad altogether, but just saying. Theom are gonna be landing in the Pride Raider Woman tier. The show they are a part of is not good enough for Protect Queer Art, but the ship itself is very solid. Now this next one made me very, very upset. Merlin made me actively angry whilst I was watching Merlin, and now all of these emotions are coming back because of you guys and the fact that you guys submitted them. By the way, this was by far the most submitted ship to my Google form. That's how I know you guys know game. Merlin was always canon to me. Like, these two guys were just in love. That's the extent of it, really. They just were. Like, I'm sorry, Arthur left his literal wife to save Merlin at one point. They constantly kept sacrificing themselves for each other. Not to mention the fact that this is all happening in a universe where magic is basically a code for being queer. This entire show is a queer analogy. And then you don't make them endgame. Like, disrespectful. That ending will never fail to piss me off, genuinely. Typically, when I rewatched Merlin, I just skipped the last season because, I mean, it was mid. The last season of it was kind of all over the place. But that ending, Jesus Christ.
Life could be worse.
No, not really. This is the worst.
This is the worst.
This is the worst.
Merlin and Arthur have the most perfect chemistry. Like, actually, they fight like an old married couple, and that's because they are. Their banter, the sacrifices they make for each other, their bond, the way that they kind of start hating each other, but by the end, they're literally so gay for one another. This show would actually be perfect if it ended with Merlin endgame. It would be such a perfect conclusion, such a perfect take on this entire story, and the fact that it was not used will forever be something that, you know, keeps me up at night. Protect queer art for these two, but also spiritually homophobic dog to the creators of the show and the people who kept on like queer baiting us into thinking that murder was actually going to happen, because that was genuinely fucking evil on their part. Like, how are you gonna take pictures like these and then be like, oh no, they're straight? Just don't piss me off. I will always love Merlin, but that will never fail to piss me off. Even though, you know, I love a lot of things about Merlin. I love its characters, I love its settings, and I also really, really love the cast. I mean, Katie McGrath is in this show, and I absolutely love her. Oh, and speaking of Katie McGrath, she is also in a different show where her character gets to, this time, also be in a popular ship. Although, to be fair, Morgana and Gwen is a ship, which I saw a bit in my day. I actually forgot about it. I don't think anyone submitted it, which is also kind of sad. Like, you guys should do better. But I did kind of forget about it. Honestly, it would probably be somewhere along the same lines as Merlin, because they should have been together. I don't care. This should have been a fully explicitly queer show. But that doesn't matter. Since no one submitted that, I'm gonna move on to the other ship that Katie McGrath is a part of. Kara Danvers and Lena Luthor from Supergirl. I honestly enjoyed Supergirl for like the first season of it. This show was pretty bad altogether. The writing of Kara is specifically diabolically bad. Like, it's so far away from like the actual Supergirl from other media such as the comics. Oh, and also, come to think of it, I'm releasing this video the week that the new Supergirl movie drops, by the way. I'm actually pretty excited for it. I am sure that it's going to have better writing than the CW Supergirl show, because that's not really a like big achievement. I'm just gonna say this, I will never tolerate hate towards Millie Alcock. Fuck those Twitter incels, man. Like, this is literally the Rachel Zegler situation all over again, and I hate it. These women did nothing wrong, and y'all are treating them like, I don't know, you're all performing witch hunts online. Get a life. But back to the CW's Supergirl. It had shit writing, poor directing, mid acting honestly too, but this ship was legit to me. Lena specifically is the highlight of the show. She is such a good character, and her tension and just in general chemistry of Kara is so good. Like, they're this close from just straight up being married. But instead, Kara goes on to pursue more shit men. Boring. Supergirl is genuinely a dreadful show, but these two and the possibility around them is one of the things that kept me going. And then their relationship got broken up and my interest plummeted, honestly. Like, by season 4, I was just like, nah, I'm not watching this shit. Which, honestly, I am surprised that I lasted this long. They are in fact a popular ship, but they are also like one of the only good things about this show. I'm gonna put them in the Pride Radar Woman tier, mostly because I'm feeling generous right now. They are the only thing that is saving Supergirl, the CW version of it, from being like borderline unwatchable, and I salute to them for that. This next one, a lot of you submitted this, and I hate all of you because y'all reminded me of one of the most traumatic films I've ever watched. One that is in my top 4 on Letterboxd for a reason, but also I like when I get moments where I don't have to think of it, because then I'm happy. And then I think of it and I'm no longer happy. So yeah, thank you guys so much for submitting Neil Perry and Todd Anderson from Dead Poets Society. Really appreciated that. Neil and Todd, like, I understand that many view them as just good platonic friends, but to me this was more. This was love. And I mean, you could call it like brotherly love, which I would agree, but still, to me, this is a romantic relationship. Honestly, whenever I watch Dead Poets Society, it doesn't even cross my mind that they are not canon, because the way they behave, like, they're just boyfriends to me. Easy, just like that. Like, they don't have to be confirmed canon for me to look at them and be like, oh yeah, they're in love. Duh. There are so many moments that point to that as well. You get the scene of Neil saying that he's being chased by Walt Whitman, who was reportedly a queer poet. You have the entirety of the No scene. You have even the reaction of Todd when Neil dies. It's just the feelings they had for each other. They were so strong that you cannot tell me that this was something more than like actual romantic love. Like, they actually loved each other. Honestly, that's what makes it even more tragic. Like, whenever I watch it, I'm just like, fuck, it's such a difficult movie to watch because of this. Also, now that I know the ending, and I practically rewatch Dead Poets Society like every autumn, typically like around November, I'll just go back and watch it and drown in a big puddle of my own tears. Whenever I watch it, that is what like adds to the tragedy of the situation. Protect queer art. Like, obviously. Okay, time to move on to a ship that doesn't actually end tragically. Corvus and Soren from the Dragon Prince, which, by the way, this is the second video in a row where I am mentioning the Dragon Prince, so if you know that show, you're eating good today. This is a more low-key ship in a way, because these two are far from being main characters, especially Corvus. He's kind of the less important one to the story here, whilst Soren actually Like, come to think of it, he gets a lot to do in this show. We don't see them interact that often, but from what we do see, this is either the healthiest straight bromance ever brought to screen, or this is like the first few stages of an actual romantic relationship. The thing is though, the Dragon Prince actually doesn't really stray away from queer characters or couples. We have a few couples actually that are queer. One of them was mentioned in last week's video. We have 2 different trans characters, which one of them is Terry, and I love Terry. I would die for Terry. This show is just overall very, very queer friendly. So if service was actually going to happen, I feel like it already would have, although maybe the writers were like waiting with them for the 3rd arc, which, listen, I still don't know if that's happening, so that kind of sucks. But then again, if the 3rd arc actually gets greenlit, there is a lot of room for them to actually be canon. This isn't the case with most of the shows or films on this list, where there is a possibility of a continuation and eventually, you know, a ship becoming canon. But for them, this is actually an option. This can very much still happen, and I think it should. Either way, when they get together, because they will, I think it will be very cute. I don't think they will be like the most popular couple of the show. That's kind of difficult to do, honestly, because there are a lot of very interesting ones, and I don't think they would be the most interesting. But one thing for sure, they will be very, very cute. Corvus and Soren land in the Pride Radar Woman tier. Now, this next one I think is going to be a little bit more interesting. Wicked is a musical turned into movies that tells a story of lesbian love between Glinda and Elphaba, as well as the story of racial prejudice. I mean, the first part isn't like canon, but come on. If you watched Wicked, there's no way to just not like default think about them as something other than girlfriends, especially in the second film. In the first one, you know, we see the first few stages of their relationship. It's the rivalry, the friendship, but then in the second film, it becomes clear. This is just love. That combined with the emotions that Ariana and Cynthia pour into those performances, just especially in the second film. And Ariana was the highlight of the second film for me, because she was just going through it the entire film. And then they get that duet to For Good, which is heartbreaking, and so is the final scene of that film. That scene genuinely left me speechless. Like, that scene was probably the reason why so many people were walking out of the movie theater crying. I actually didn't cry at either of the Wicked movies, but I was close to it. I mean, how could you not? This is like the pinnacle of doom theory. Yeah, I ship Glinda and Elphaba, and I'm proud of it. I actually would like to see a version of Wicked where they are actually like in a relationship. I think it would add so much more stakes to the story, especially with how the politics of this world divide them. Although then that ending probably would hurt even more, which I don't know if I would like. I don't know if I can take it. Also, sorry, but I never bought Elphaba and Fiero. Like, and that's not just because Cynthia is a lesbian and Jonathan is gay. Although that is notably very funny to me, but it just never made sense to me. Like, Elphaba, your girl is literally right there and you're singing love songs to this random man you found on the street. Like, girl, we all love Fiero. Like, he is so hot, so beautiful, and also a good person, which is a rarity in this world, but still, go and get your girl. Wicked is kind of a mixed bag for me because I liked both of these films, even though they have clear flaws to them. But one thing is for sure, and that is the resurgence of Glinda and Elphaba was so good. It was definitely one of the best parts of Wicked getting adapted into the movies. And I also love that this was like very universal. Like, everybody saw this. This is one of those ships that I just don't think you could really deny it. Glinda and Elphaba are gonna land in the Protect Queer Arts tier. I mean, how could you not? They are very important to the queer community. This next one. Ooh, I'm so excited to talk about this one. Once Upon a Time is a crazy ass show and I love it. It's kooky, it's campy, it's kind of nonsensical. It has a fucked up family tree and I love it for that. And it also has one of the best sapphic ships to ever exist. And that is very funny because nothing about this show is serious except for the Swan Queen ship. Basically, Regina and Emma, well, for starters, they already have a kid together, so there's that. Even though at first they don't know about the fact that he has, a different mother. But then, you have their fight over the custody, them kind of accepting the fact that they are both mothers to Henry. They also have, in my opinion, a very well executed version of enemies to lovers. Well, enemies to friends, I guess. We all know how I feel. I actually really enjoy how they were written in this show, and I think them becoming friends is really, really good. But I also just wonder how this show would have looked like if they actually got together at one point, especially since their separate relationships kind of suck. Don't get me wrong, Hook is fun. I really, really like him, but he is pretty much a gender-bent Regina already, and his appeal kind of fades away with time for me. And for Regina, I get liking Robin for how he makes Regina feel. He's incredibly good to her and he makes her happy. But he's also just so boring. He's an NPC in this show. Meanwhile, here you have an opportunity to pull one of the greatest enemies to lovers ever seen on screen, and you just don't.
I just love letting her go.
One thing I will disagree about here is that I don't think this ship is a result of queer baiting. This is an accusation that I saw a lot of the times when I was looking up people's opinions about Swan Queen specifically, and I have to disagree with this. I'm sorry. Enemies to friends doesn't always have to lead to lovers, and I think the main reason for the ship's existence is the narrative potential. I mean, for starters, again, they have a kid together, but also B, the fact that they have just insane chemistry together. They really just work well together. Honestly, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna put Regina and Emma in the Protect Queer Arts territory. I'm sorry, their endgame could have changed the course of humanity. I am sure of that. Now this next one. Okay. Get out your pitchforks, bitches, because it's time to piss people off, get chased off the internet, and have my address leaked online. Byler.
I mean, let me ask the audience.
I'm sorry, I just never saw the vision. I think Stranger Things, since season 1, has been throwing everything at Mike and Eleven, that the idea of Byler just never crossed my mind whilst I was watching it until maybe season 4, where Will gets that whole jealousy arc. But the character of Mike was always so fixated on Eleven, especially in season 4. I remember that being specifically the case. In that season, he literally doesn't see Will because Eleven is right there. This to me always seemed like just a story of a very one-sided crush, and season 5, whilst being extremely horrible, confirmed that to me. I think where I do agree with the internet discourse around Byler is that I do definitely believe that this is a result of some heavy queer baiting from the creators of the show. But it's just when you look at the actual plot, the characters, their personalities, their arcs that are presented in front of you, it just doesn't gel well together. Around season 5, I genuinely felt like I was watching internet go into full-on schizophrenia mode. Did we watch the same show or did we not? The passion and the emotions that people were throwing into this, it just seemed a little much for a show that gave them little crumbs here and there. I never had my hopes up when it came to Byler being canon. I just never thought that it would happen, and it didn't. I understand why this ship exists, but I think it's very hard to justify its existence in this show that was actually presented to us. This is something that I could see in, fan interpretations of the show, fanfics, whatever, but I just don't think it was ever going to happen. And I think thinking that Byler was ever really a plan for Endgame is kind of delusional, which I realize might be a controversial take again. And another thing that I do realize is that Byler shippers are kind of crazy sometimes. And I think that is also why I personally have a little problem with Byler. This is the same sub-fandom that gave us this video.
I don't understand. She fucking died, so why can't they fuck? I don't understand. I don't give a fuck about his random ass boyfriend. Why did...
And also had people crashing out in ways I have not seen since honestly, I don't even know when. It was honestly kind of scary. So, should Byler have happened? No, I don't think so.
Yup.
Listen, I'm sorry, but the story that the show presented, whilst heavily flawed, obviously, season 5 was fucking shit. This story just never had room for Byler and never tried to actually set it up from both sides. You know, from Will's side, there were some pieces that were put into place, but from Mike's side, nothing on top of nothing. There was just nothing to work with. Yeah, I'm sorry, but this is one of the homophobic dog tier residents. I never got this. I never understood it. It just, I don't know. Explain it to me like I'm 5. I genuinely don't understand this ship. I think, listen, had it happened, would it be fun? Yeah, probably. I think it could have been good, but the way the show handled the character of Will, and specifically Mike is the one that I have a problem with, because Will kind of has motivation to like believe that Mike could be into him. You know, there is that entire one-sided crush story that I was talking about earlier, but Mike, he is just not interested at any point, and that is my problem with it. Like, we can ship them, we can imagine that, you know, they could be together if Mike actually paid attention to him, but that is not the reality that the show was set in. So I don't know. I don't know if I can support this, honestly. Now, namely, I have to mention here, there were a lot of Stranger Things ships that were submitted. Namely, I remember seeing a lot of Robin and Nancy, Eleven and Max. I remember seeing a lot of Steve and Jonathan. But this next ship, it really fascinated me because I've never seen it before, and it honestly confused the shit out of me. And this might just be me. This might be like huge in the Stranger Things fandom, and I just don't know because I'm not that involved in it. But this is my first time ever hearing about Steve and Eddie. This is news to me. And yeah, it never crossed my mind before, so you can imagine how I feel about it. I just don't see it. I think, you know, they have their little conflict in season 4, but I never thought about it too much. I think their relationship could also be interesting considering how both of them were pretty close to Dustin at one point, but other than that, I just don't really see it. Like, I don't understand what was there that would prompt somebody to think that they like could be a couple. Like, even if it's like, you know, a non-canon ship, like, I just, I don't think there is enough for me to build like an image of them as a non-canon couple. Like, it just, my brain just doesn't compute it well, I guess. I don't know. Also, Sumi, genuinely throw bricks at me, I don't care. I was never that big of a fan of Eddie. Like, it was an okay character. I really did not understand the internet's obsession with him. He was very, very okay. If we're gonna ship Steve with anyone, because I definitely very much support the agenda of Steve Harrington being bisexual, because he is. Duh. I think it should be with Jonathan, and that is like Pride Radar Woman territory, like somewhere around that. Not this though. Homophobic dog tier again. I'm sorry, both of the Stranger Things ships that were submitted are landing there. I just don't see it. I'm not featuring it. I'm sorry. Now, we move on from confusing ships to ones that make complete sense. Charles and Erik from the X-Men franchise are just basically husbands, and they spend half of their relationship beefing, which is pretty sad, but still, I eat it up every time. I think when we talk about the X-Men films, like the first ones, I don't think their couple vibes were as strong as in the newer ones, but I mean, even then, I said in my Letterboxd review, for the first X-Men film that I really do like me some Old Man Yowie. And that is, I think, still my most liked review on Letterboxd. It has an entirety of 4 likes, which made me feel like I'm famous. But in the newer ones, holy shit. They're like, how do I even describe their chemistry? To be completely honest, I don't think blasting Lady Gaga at a Pride Parade would be gayer than what these two have going on. That entire scene with the radio dish and how Charles motivates Erik to move it, that is the most intimate gay shit I've ever seen. And then you also have to include the tragedy of Erik hurting Charles, also them fighting on a plane, and don't even get me started on Days of Future Past. Because that scene where Ian McKellen as Magneto says to Charles that they wasted their whole lives trying to fight each other, like, I was crying. I'm sorry. Like, you don't understand. I needed to pause that movie. I needed to just like sit alone in the dark with my thoughts for a few minutes, because this was so much. This is such a loaded statement. There is so many layers to this. Do I think that Charles and Erik are going to be canon at some point in any X-Men universe, alternate universe, I guess? I don't know if Marvel is bold enough to do that. I personally don't think so. I mean, almost all of their gay shit has been in like side projects, like Agatha All Along, for example. So I personally don't think that it will happen. But if it would, I mean, I would probably just pass away on the spot. Protect queer art. Argue with the wall. Also, another good ship to mention because we are getting the new X-Men films soon, and also the second season of X-Men 97, which I think it premieres in July. And by the way, I will probably recap the season just like I did for the first 2 seasons of Percy Jackson. I think that could be fun. And also, I think this is a great moment to plug my own video about all of the X-Men films, which I did a couple weeks back. I really like the video. Go and watch it. It's very relevant right now. Might as well give it a watch. We move on to our next ship. This time it's Edmund and Caspian from the Chronicles of Narnia. This one was submitted and I was honestly surprised. I think I've seen this ship before, but I just never really paid that much attention to it because personally, don't judge me, but I actually prefer Caspian and Peter. That just kind of makes more sense to me. You know, both of them are kings, they are leaders, they kind of don't like each other at first. I think they honestly would make a fierce royal couple. Edmund and Caspian, though, are a different story. If we're talking about just the Prince Caspian movie, I will disagree. And also, this is another instance where the age angle is very important because I think Edmund is like really, really young compared to Caspian. But the voyage of the Dawn Treader, I kind of see it more, even though I never personally actually thought about it as a romantic thing. To me, they just felt like bros, but I can see the appeal. I also think that maybe because Caspian and Edmund get along very well, it isn't as interesting to me because unfortunately the tropes of rivals to lovers or enemies to lovers kind of speak to me. And Peter and Caspian are just a perfect instance of that. I really like how around Caspian, Peter kind of starts exhibiting traits of Edmund. He becomes slightly petty, prideful even, whilst Edmund suddenly is the adult in the room. It kind of reminds me of the dynamic between Jedediah and Octavius in Night at the Museum, which now that I'm saying that out loud, I'm realizing that I'm massively fucked up because I didn't include them. Oh my God. I am so sorry. That is a massive fuck up on my part. Listen, I'm gonna rank them without making them a little sticker because I genuinely forgot. Obviously, protect queer art. I mean, duh. They threw the first tiny bricks at Stonewall. Back to Edmund and Caspian, though. I'm gonna say something that might piss certain people off, but I actually do prefer Edmund and Caspian as platonic friends. I think they work in that way very well together. I will, however, call myself a Caspian and Peter shipper. That's just my truth. We move on to the next one. And listen, I did not really enjoy the new Star Wars movies, parts 7, 8, and 9 specifically. They just weren't for me. However, the Storm pilot ship between Finn and Poe kept me interested for a while. I'm at a point where Star Wars is just exhausting to me. Like, I don't really want to keep up with it anymore. I will eventually watch Andor because I know it's good. I still haven't watched it. Please don't throw bricks at me. But Finn and Poe are like one of the last parts of this franchise that I ever really gave a fuck about. These two are just like, there's something so buzzy about them. Like, they make me happy whenever they are on the screen together. They do in fact make a great team. And when you add in the jacket scene, like... Yes, husbands, exactly. Not to mention the fact that if I remember correctly, in episode 9, there's that entire scene of a conversation between these two, and Finn is talking about what he's going to say to Rey. And I don't know, I remember watching that and kind of thinking that like Poe, he seemed a little jealous. Like he was feeling some kind of way about that. And I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know. I might be misremembering something. Again, it's been a couple years since I've seen that movie, and I'm not really planning on rewatching it anytime soon. But that was my interpretation of it. Not to mention the fact that also their actors are very, very supportive of this ship. Like, that is the last stamp of approval given to an already perfect ship. I think the only reason why I might rank it lower is because I'm just very fatigued with Star Wars and I don't really consume any shows or films related to it anymore. Like, I just have better things to do with my time, like finishing my X-Men 97 rewatch, but I will give this to maybe the Pride Raider woman tier. I am very supportive of this ship, actually, but, too bad Disney doesn't have the balls to actually commit to it. All they can do is sell, like, rainbow Mickey ears and merch, but when we ask for a gay couple in a mainline Star Wars movie, that is too much for them. We only have 2 more ships left, and this next one might be slightly upsetting for some of you because it was actually submitted a lot. But I do have an explanation. Bridgerton is never a show that I particularly, like, enjoyed that much. I watched it mostly for Jonathan Bailey because I am only a human, I am weak. I realize that, I am but a mere mortal. But then again, Penelope and Eloise, I don't know about that. Here's my take on this. I think Eloise might be queer, and actually, I see the vision for that. Like, she actually could be. Penelope, on the other hand, I don't think so. I think she's very open about the fact that she likes guys, and I mean specifically Eloise's brother Colin. I personally believe that similarly to Edmund and Caspian, they work as best friends. I see them more in that vein specifically. They just seem like close friends to me. That's it. And I mean, it is a kind of love, just not a sapphic one. They have great chemistry together, but I don't think it ever goes far enough for it to feel like a romantic kind of chemistry. I will say though, it would have been cool to actually see a queer couple in the earlier seasons of the show. I mean, now we're getting a Frangela season, which I am very excited for. I mean, finally. But as for like Penelope and Eloise, if they were written slightly differently, maybe I would have supported it. Right now, it's kind of like unenthusiastic support for me. Like, I see it, I get it, I respect it, but at the same time, I don't feel too strongly about it, so they will be landing in the tiny Trixie Mattel tier. We are closing off this list with a very popular ship and also an apology. I am so sorry that I forgot about Caitlin and Violet from Arcane in my previous video. I think they were submitted like at least once, but I just didn't put them in for God knows what reasons, and I'm so sorry about that. And I would like to offer my takes on Jayce as a form of official like apology. Jayce and Viktor are in love, and there is not much debating that really. They have such an interesting relationship to me because they started off as friends, and I honestly love that. But especially in season 2, we see so much more tension and complicated feelings between them. I mean, you have Jayce literally trying to kill Viktor at one point, but also before that, he's so worried about Viktor because of his accident. And then you get that fucking ending. Like, I know that ending technically isn't a confirmation of anything, but to me it was. Like, I'm sorry, how can you watch that scene and think to yourself, wow, they're best friends. They're platonic BFFs. Like, let's be serious for a second. And listen, I love Mel just as much as the next guy, but her relationship with Jayce was kind of weird to me. I was watching that being like, okay, sure, whatever. But also, he was in bed with her. He was laying in the same bed with her and still thinking about Viktor.
Homosexuals. Damn homosexuals.
So like, what are we going to do about that? I also think the internet's obsession with these two honestly adds to my support for Jayce because a lot of it was very funny. I remember specifically these edits that were going around when season 2 was airing and just like post season 2 as well, where people would do like voiceover impressions of these two characters. And there was specifically the one that went like super viral, which was like something about a hex trap or something. That was so... Honestly, that was such a great time to be on the internet. These two will be rounding out the video by ending up in the Protect Queer Arts tier. And with that, this is the full list. Make sure to let me know if you agree or not, or which ships I missed. I know there are a lot, because some of them were also submitted, like the Sherlock and Watson one. There, I have to admit, I still haven't seen Sherlock.
So what's your sentence for her?
Electric chair.
So there's that. And also a lot of you submitted Destiel, which I am actively working on. I'm actually watching Supernatural for the first time right now. I have not finished season 1 yet. I'm like just a few episodes in, so there's not much I can say because not much has happened. But when I get to like the actual Destiel parts of it, I will definitely let you know. But yeah, honestly, I'm very happy with this list. Like a lot of these queer ships, I honestly support, and I think they should have been canon. Ultimately, I think that any queer ship is good. Like any of these, even like Byler or Steady, even though that one is kind of weird. But listen, any of them being canon would be good because the more queer representation, the better. But ultimately, we also have to think about the reasons for their existence. Like, how is the plot built around them? How much of the elements that are needed for them to be in a couple are already in place? For a lot of them, these elements are fully built, and the only thing they need is just like the green light from the writers, and there we go, we have a couple. But with some of them, clearly it requires a lot more mental gymnastics and rewriting the entire plot of a show or film that they're from. And that's why I can't really support them. But, you know, if you presented me a completely different version of the show where it would actually make sense, where the build-up would actually build towards something, I would probably be much more supportive of it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This is the last video of Pride. I know this Pride month honestly went by so quickly, but I hope you had a great time during Pride. I hope you did some gay things. I don't know, you celebrated or whatever. I just really, really hope that you had a great time. I know I did. And thank you so much for supporting my channel. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. If you stuck around, I love you so much. I will be back next week with a very fun video essay that I've been kind of working on for a long time, but finally there was one specific movie release that kind of pushed me to making it, and I'm finally sitting down, finishing writing it, and it's gonna be very, very fun. So I will see you next week, but until then, thank you so much for watching. Take care, especially in this heat, and I'll see you in a week's time. Bye.